Let's bring in the doc. He's joining us. Does it every Wednesday. He's here to talk the boys off a ledge. Covers the Detroit Lions for Sports Illustrated. The voice of reason, the one, the only, Mr. John Maakaron. John, how we doing, brother?
Yes, sir, guys. Yeah, looks like I can bring the energy as
Oh, the
well.
mic.
You guys look a little sad.
We are sad. We're sad for two reasons. One, it seems like the mic is not. The mic's. Yep, there you go. I love messing with the dog. Oh no, yeah, we are pissed though.
We got to do that too one time when the mic's like perfectly fine.
Yeah, mic check, right?
There you go.
There we go.
It's simple. Right. I double checked to make sure it's on. It's on. Now I got to go into the settings every time to make sure it goes to the right mic. So here's the funny part. Here's a funny story. I recorded a 30-minute video on my birthday doing the exact same thing, not pushing all the right buttons. There's just too many buttons to push. But I'm here, guys. Look, I got the mission today. I saw that you guys have been grinding. You analyze everything. But let me tell you something from a personal perspective, all right? Remember how I told you guys that Brad Holmes would sign somebody at like 10:30?
Yeah.
Well, you know how Roy Lopez and I are going to be forever bonded if this is accurate, right? He signed last night at 10:30 at night, correct? On March 11th?
Yes.
All right. That's my birthday. Right?
Oh, happy birthday, Doc.
That's right. March 10th for a married guy on his birthday. So what are you expecting, right? You're expecting to have a great birthday, right? Watching a comedy special, getting in the mode, getting in that right mindset to do what you got to do to celebrate your birthday. And that alert came, and I knew right away. I was like, oh, no. And I'm like, Roy Lopez, what the? So I will forever remember Roy Lopez because I didn't get it in on my birthday. So pretty soon, it's got to happen. Maybe this week, maybe, but I'm still full of energy. I'm not disappointed. As a married man, you get used to it. But Roy Lopez cost me an epic birthday. But I'm ready. I'm 46. I'm here to bring the level-headedness that we all need because I get it. Free agency was like me on my birthday. You're hoping it's in your mind what you want. You know what you want. You want it. You want Trey Hendrickson. You want the Grand Slam Big Salami. You want a great player. But it didn't happen. It's okay. It's going to be okay, guys. Where are we at? What are we talking about today? I don't think it's as bad as people think. It's disappointing. It's boring. It's missionary, but
okay.
It can be, we can spin this in a great way for Detroit Lions fans.
So, I mean, Doc, wow, what an intro.
Great analogy.
It's amazing. He just doesn't miss. I'll ask you, okay, the reaction to some of what happened. I guess we'll start with today. You have a Levi resigning. You have the Roy Lopez. I know the boys will probably ask you more about him, but can we start with the re-signings, right? Levi owns Enrique, and then you have Kevin Zitler not re-signing. What's your thoughts on the Levi owns Enrique contract, and then Kevin Zitler taking that deal with the Titans?
Right. Okay. Now, look, in totality, I know Lions fans just got to get used to the fact that the Lions are not going to make big, huge financial commitments to guys outside of their own draft picks. So he's going to spin it. And when Brad Holmes discusses free agency at the owners' meetings, he's going to say, what are you talking about? Probably Kirby Joseph will be locked up to a massive contract. Our own Aiden Hutchinson, we got to pay. Contracts coming up, the contracts that have been given out already. The Lions are loyal to their own guys. That's how you get paid. And free agency is just about, for the Lions right now, we got to get used to it. It's about rounding out needs and filling holes in areas that are not going to be big splashes. And that's not to say that the big splash is not there, but there's so many moving parts in order to get that, because you got to also outbid another team. You also got to allocate draft picks, and it's just really tough. So the odds of the splashes are low, and Brad Holmes told everybody that. So first move that made me laugh was, I told you guys, Kevin Zitler is trending. I think I must have said it 50 ways on articles. And on
you called it Tennessee. You said
trending
Tennessee.
Not to come back. It's clear, like in the NFL, guys, NFL not for long means this. When the clock hits 30, and I'm not saying the Lions will never have veterans. I'm not saying that. When the clock hits 30 years old, you know as a player, the next guy's coming. Kevin knew it. Christian Mahogany knew it. Everybody knew it except the fans that were like, oh, I need Kevin Zitler back. You are never paying Kevin Zitler at 35 years old $9 million. Good teams don't do it. Brad Holmes isn't going to do it. They moved on. It was the clear vision. It just was clear from the moment Kevin Zitler signed. He was a one-year guy. Get Christian Mahogany ready, and let's go. That's the replacement, or we're going to move on. We're not investing in a 35-year-old lineman to win a Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. Christian Mahogany's ready to go. Pencil him in. From knowing him, from the work ethic, from when you go back and rewatch the film at Boston College, he's a gritty offensive lineman that's going to be playing very well. Now, there's a lot of options. He can be the right guard, or you slot him back to the left guard and you move Graham Glasgow to right guard and say, let's correct the mistake we made messing around with Graham. He had a horrible year. Let's move this forward and have Graham play right guard. You're going to draft a offensive lineman. You're going to potentially find also maybe a veteran that gets cut at in training camp. They're going to be fine along the offensive line, in my opinion. The loss of Zitler stings from a perspective of he's a good player, but the drop-off is not going to be drastic at all. I don't mind it. I'm already moved on. Zitler was a one-year guy. That was it. And you can tell guys that get, contracts right away at 4 o'clock are the guys that are penciled in as, hey, this is the guy we got to keep. And that wasn't Kevin Zitler. So I'm okay with that. You should be okay with that. The offensive line, I think, will be okay. It will be addressed. No doubt about it. Now, the shock of everybody that saw it was like, man, Levi only got $5.5 million. That screams to me he had no market value outside of Detroit. The outside world was like too risky, not enough productivity, not enough splash, not enough representation, I guess, from his people to get his name out there. He had to get a prove-it deal. And that's a situation in which many of us thought maybe his market would be inflated based on others. But I think the tape indicates that this is a developmental player still that's got to do it again in 2025. I love that contract. That's a guy that you say, wow, this is great that you're going to get productivity out of him at that cost. That is perfect relation to value versus what you're going to get out of him. Now you just got to hope he stays healthy. The one that's intriguing, that's interesting, Iffy for $4 million, I would have brought him back. I would have been like, you know what? And I said it on the Doc and Jock podcast. And I'm not knocking DJ Reed. I'm not, saying that he's a bad player. But from a conceptual standpoint, Ifeatu Melifonwu, you could have got, if you wanted to go the edge route and splash and outbid someone, you don't have to replace Carlton Davis with DJ Reed. You could have spent $4 million on Ifeatu Melifonwu, have him play corner, draft another one. And that's not bad if you want to invest money elsewhere. DJ Reed's a good player. I like what they did, but there's another way to look at it. In terms of allocation of funds, you're going to a smaller receiver or a smaller defensive back that hasn't played man-to-man consistently in the last couple of years, more of a zone coverage defensive back, a little bit shorter, a little bit handsy, but he's a good player. He's a grinder. He's going to work hard. He's going to make plays. But I would have also said, you could have looked at it and said, you could have even paid Carlton Davis as well. From 16 to 20, that's not that much of a difference for a player that's taller, physical, and can do some things. But I think the Lions wanted to allocate funds further to where they're going. So you can make a case for certain arguments, but it's been okay. DJ Reed is a fair replacement for Carlton, but I know what people are messaging. Did the Lions get tremendously better over the course of the last 72 hours? No. But where they're going to take the biggest jump and where they're always going to take the jump is Brad Holmes' Super Bowl, the Lions' new Super Bowl, the NFL draft. And I think they'll do enough to make everybody calm down. But yeah, if you're a fan, I get your angst. If you're three, I understand the angst that you feel about, man, the other teams got better, but they're scratching and clawing to catch the big dogs, and the big dogs are the Lions. And until someone knocks them off in the NFC North, it's going to be their division to run. And the next step is to remind everybody, this is a good football team. It's good. And I love the fact that we're debating what moves help this team get to the Super Bowl and win it. This is the best zone to be in, talking ball about a Lions team that we're all wondering, Should they push? Should they have made a splash? So I'm excited. I'm excited moving forward. But yes, I get it. Free agency was a dud like my birthday.
Do you think, Doc, I think one of the biggest questions, to be honest, this whole edge situation, do you have anyone that's still like kind of on the board in free agency that you're looking at and you're still hoping, and I'll bring out a couple names like Matthew Judon's been a big one that I've thrown out there. I know Von Miller's still available. I know they're older names. That seems to be kind of what is left in free agency. What would be your pick and who would you go out there and sign if you're Brad Holmes?
At this point, you don't do that. You go in the draft. Like, there's one name that everybody in Detroit wants, and that's it. First and foremost, which was funny, your first move is Marcus Davenport. I joked around with Adam. I said, I just would have said to Marcus, look, Marcus, you're our guy. I think I said it to you guys. You're our guy. We're going to talk to you. We're going to sign your contract on Wednesday. We're not going to make that first. We need to kind of sell something. So, hey, we're not going to announce you right away. We're going to do like Levi. We're going to announce you later. And let's just announce the other signings first. But listen, at this point in time, it's fun for me. And yes, please put happy birthday in the chat. I love that. And ask questions. Fill up the chat with questions, what you want to know, and we'll get after it. But in regards to the edge situation, when you saw a beautiful video that was posted by the Lions inside the den, I loved it. I watched it. A little bit repetitive for me because I know the process. I've met the coaches and all that, but it was great. The comments under are, what are you trying to distract us from the edge? Danny Rodgers posts something on social media. What are you trying to distract us from the fact we got no edge? There's one name that you can only parade to this fan base, which they deserve, and that's Trey Hendrickson. If you don't say Trey Hendrickson, I don't give a shit who it is. It better not be anybody. It better be a draft pick because this fan base deserves it. And I'm always fascinated too. And if you did watch it, I encourage you. I spent 30 minutes on my birthday just ranting, going, listen, here's the truth. The people that want the Lions to push all in are actually more confident in the Lions than those that don't. And here's why. And that's how I prefaced it by asking Brad Holmes. And I put it into words. The reason fans are clamoring for one guy is, Brad, you've done a great job with this roster. We like what you've done at linebacker, young, aggressive, nice mix of veterans, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell. We like that. Best safety crew. Defensive line can be rounded out with veterans and draft picks. Your offense, pretty solid. And I opened the question to Brad. I said, it's a testament to how you built this roster. Well, most people think you're one guy away, and that one position is edge, and it won't hurt. The reason everybody's anxious and has all this angst, which is weird from the poo-poo crowd out there that's like, no, oh, they can't do it. It's not worth it. What are you talking about? The Lions are close. Fans see it. They love what Brad Holmes did. They want the final piece to the puzzle. They love what the Lions have done. They're like, we like it. We trust you. Get the one guy. That's what we're saying. I'm saying they're close. Like, they're this close to getting the magic prize. And we're that close. And Brad can't deliver the final piece. That's why people are so anxious, because they believe, and I truly believe as well, the Lions are close right there. But without that key edge rusher, it's tough. It's a very tough position. I don't want to, I like Azeez Ojulari. I think he could fit and do some things here. I'm pretty sure he's probably negotiating with a couple teams. I like what he could do with the Detroit Lions, but I don't want somebody that's less than the best. And I want Trey Hendrickson. I want the guy that had 17 and a half sacks. And I don't care if no team has paid two guys $40 million. The Lions will do it because that's a swing. So to me, those that are outside that are saying, no, they're great without it. Get the hell out of here. What the heck are you talking to? That really defies the logic of looking for talent. What do you think the Lions are doing? They're looking. They're calling. Why are they calling Myles Garrett knocking on the door? Why? Because they know they're close. They just can't get over the hump to get it and pay it and do what they got to do. So I believe the Lions are close, and I'm always of the opinion fans should always knock for more players, more. And those that are like, oh, the Lions are great, and they flash all their butt-kissing stuff like, oh, look at all the great picks the Lions have had. you always have the trump card by saying they have no rings. The anxiety is high. They have no rings. So you're just putting out puff shit that people don't want to see. They want to know that, hey, we got the best chance before the season starts to win a Super Bowl. And we're that close. So you bring Trey Hendrickson here, or you don't bring no other edge rusher until the draft, and you get the stud, and you get one of the best premier guys that's going to get out there. And I love the fans that are barking and going, no, stop with the nonsense. Stop telling me, stop pissing on my head and tell me it's great. It's not great. You have a hole, and pretty soon it's going to be filled. How? So I encourage everybody, keep pushing, keep telling those, those positive peddlers, you still got a hole at edge. It's not filled. And until it's filled, I want that position filled. And I hope it's with Hendrickson, but it's most likely going to be in the draft.
Before you go, Lucas, we got a shout out, man, IT Hips, $20. Appreciate that. Yeah. He asked you a question, Doc. He said, Doc, don't you truly believe the Lions are being frugal with spending is because they're going to give out big contracts to Hutch and Kirby, then just draft an edge in the first or second?
Yeah, it's I don't consider it frugal. The Lions spend, but they don't do it on external guys. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of trust. It's a lot of, I think the best way to do it is it's rigid. This is what we do, and we're not going outside it. I don't like that as a general manager. I like the idea, if there's a guy, we're not asking for 5 guys, just one 15, 20 million guy that you believe can go out there and win at a high level and win along the defensive line. It's not frugal. It's rigid. They know they're going to pay Kirby. They know they're going to pay Aiden. And they know, too, they got to also worry about the next wave of guys that are going to be getting paid, and that's Jamison Williams, that's Brian Branch. So it's not easy to do, but guess what? It's not as tough either, because the cap goes up $25 million every year. You're going to get guys. I just posted it, I think, online. If you go to @Detroit Podcast today, the Cowboys or a team just the Chiefs just renegotiated some contracts and got $50 million in cap space. It's not that difficult, that far, to make it so that you can invest if you want to. But the Lions have this policy that, hey, our guys are our guys externally, and I do think that's a reputation they're getting, is externally they give market value, and the guys that get paid are Brad's guys. So if it doesn't work out, and I'm not saying it's not, but if Brad Holmes' tenure does not end up in a Super Bowl, the epitaph, the thing that people are going to write on his gravestone is Brad Holmes far too loyal to his own draft picks.
And Doc, a reason why I think this is such a big conversation is seeing what happened that divisional round against the Commanders. And you look at the moves that the Commanders are making. I mean, they traded for Laramie Tunsil. They brought in Deebo Samuel. That's not even talking about their actual free agent signings. When you look at the Lions offseason, yeah, and I'm using the Commanders as an example, but just kind of like a frame of reference here. Is there any team around the NFC that made noise, even if it's within the NFC North, that you think could threaten the Lions a little bit, given that they've kind of been not completely quiet, but quieter than some of the teams around the NFC?
Look, yeah, there is a team. It's not the Commanders, and it's not the Bears.
I know you're going to say it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you who it's going to be. And yes, the chat, I love it. Please, there's always, remember too, and I want to say this respectfully and humbly, I love the other side. That's what makes sports fun. They can peddle their positivity all they want, but in the end, I only focus on one thing. Do they have a ring? No, they don't. And how do they get there faster? By putting the best football team possible. And it's their job to worry about the salary cap and fits and all that kind of stuff. My job is to say, I want the best players, and so should every fan. So and remember too, that the others have an agenda. They have their own personal biases. They just want to carry the team's bathwater and say everything's great all the time. Everything's great all the time. Every move is great. I like this all the time. They have no range of thought other than I like this, which is fine, but very boring. And also, better players sell tickets. Better players make plays. Better players make it so that you have more confidence going into like, hey, I got 20 guys that are great, and I want 22. And that's what the job of every general manager should be. And every fan should say, I want the most best players on my team, especially when you got to fork over money to go watch them. So, and listen, have fun with the debates with the other people, but you should always clamor for the best players. But you know who's clamoring for some players? And they're clearly going to do it at the trade deadline. They're making their push. All the writing is on the wall. Brad Holmes' mentor is doing some mentoring. And Les Snead is slick.
Yep.
He got Matthew Stafford to stay. He got Puka Nacua. He got away from a player that's often injured. I like what the Rams are doing. He's hitting on defensive linemen. He's crafting a nice squad, made a calculated free agent move. You give Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams?
Good.
Bro, that's serious business. They're making a push. And Matthew Stafford is probably – this is his last year with the Rams. They're trying to keep giving him some money to make him happy, commensurate with the rest of the league and his money. This is probably going to be his last year with the Rams, in my opinion. So they're going to push, and they got a good squad. Young defensive linemen that are hungry with Kobe and, Jared Verse. I like what the Rams are doing, and they're going to be an offensive threat, and they're going to push because it's serious business time. So they're serious. The Commanders are serious. I saw your guys' intro with the Bears. They're not as serious as a threat, but they're getting better and getting better fast. They got the attention of Amon-Ra St. Brown and the rest of the league with what they did. But the Lions are still the class of the division, but the gap is closing. And that's why it's crazy, because this 2025 year is a year that you still get a lot of guys on their early part of their contract. You're not getting the big cap hits. Next year, oh my God, Goff is elevated, Taylor Decker's elevated, Amon-Ra, Panay, and you're going to start. You might have to be on the 5th-year option of J-Mo. So this year's crazy. It's a pressure year, and the team that is concerning me the most is the Rams.
I like it, Doc. Yeah, they're going to be scary.
Well, let me ask you this then. You mentioned the Rams. We argued about Cooper Kupp. Does it make sense, Doc?
Okay.
To me, it doesn't. But I need your opinion.
No. It's a situation in which if he just didn't have that injury plague situation, it makes sense. He's had a familiarity with Jared Goff. Goff would be somebody that would definitely weigh in. He knows kind of where Goff would like the football. More weapons. I'm not opposed to it. It's all going to be about contract, where he wants to fit in. I do feel like he's probably pining for that second year to these other teams. I do think the Lions would behoove them, just give him a 1-year deal, prove it, and a lot of incentives. But I do think that he's going to go on name reputation. And here's the problem. He's going off of past reputation, and he's injury plagued. That's a problem. You get more value out of Tim Patrick and a young draft pick, in my mind, than potentially you would with a Cooper Kupp. But if they do it, it's not a problem. So it's a great free agent out there to have. Look, you can never have too many offensive weapons. And the thing is, he's got a relationship with Jared Goff. They roomed together for a period of time. He understands where Goff would like the football. And I think that, you just imagine St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, J-Mo, Tim Patrick, and Sam Laporta. That's going to be tough to make sure that not one of those guys is open. And Cooper Kupp can always be open. If you protect him, if you kind of put together a program to keep him, not heavily targeted, he's a great 3rd, 4th wide receiver in this offense. Oh my God, it'd be nice. But I do think there's going to be some competition out west. And I think what they're saying, the Seahawks are a leader in the clubhouse. There's some teams out there as well that could want his services. So we'll see. But I would not be surprised if the Lions are heard of making an offer if they don't win it.
Hey, Doc, one thing that, and I know we already talked about edges and everything, but one of the biggest news kind of going along with the edge room is them opting out of the Zadarius Smith contract this year and kind of moving on with that. And then Zadarius putting out the post being like, hey, Detroit and all of that. Do you think, like I said today, I think there's still a chance, and maybe I'm off on this, Doc, and you can correct me, but I do think there's a world to where you saw there's the dead cap next year if they didn't opt out, where he's not under contract, but you're still paying almost $6 million. Do you think there's a world where Brad's just like, let's opt out, let's get you a new deal, and let's get you on for 2 years here, so we know if we're going to pay $5 or $6 million next year, we'll pay you a couple million more to actually be on the team and under contract next year here in Detroit? Do you think that's something? 'Cause I feel like he would have signed already somewhere if there isn't some negotiations going on.
Yeah, no, I just think that Zadarius is interesting, right? I think we all wanted to see what he could do with opposite of Aiden, but I look at it like the Lions got their Zadarius Smith, and we talked about it. They got their guy that they believe is physical and can rush the passer, younger, cheaper, and that's Marcus Davenport. It's the same guy. But the one issue is that Marcus can't stay healthy, and he's younger. He fits the physical profile. So I know it's tough to see because we all assume he's not there. We all assume that Marcus is a ghost, and he's just a guy that's just there. But they want him, and they believe that they would rather. And the reason why was Zadarius was due a $7 million bonus, and they decided not to pay it. They wanted to allocate that spot for that price. So I don't think, there's a chance he could come back at a cheaper price, or maybe Zadarius comes back, 5-7 games in, and comes back affordably. But I think you got to remember too, there's a chance you could draft 2-3, defensive linemen in this draft. It's deep. And I think that there's opportunities to restock with players too that may end up getting cut, may end up being on a practice squad, and you develop and opportunities there. So it's not all lost for a reserve lineman. But again, too, he's older. Remember, when there was a number with a 3 in front of it, all right, you just start to go, well, I could find that position younger and get similar productivity. And I know he's good. He's a good player. But I think, too, the more wear and tear, it's just more tread on the tires. It's elevated. It's just like, I don't know how you guys roll with your vehicles, but everybody knows that drives a Ford or any other car that made in America, that once that car hits 100,000, some ass is going to start falling apart. Like something's going to happen. Like that light's going to turn on. You're just like, man, this car was running great. 99.9 is great. 99.99 is great. That car hits 100,000, those effing lights start coming on, and you're just like, this car don't feel good anymore. Because, something happens around that time. And it's the same thing around, okay, I'll give you guys another year because I'm an ass and I'm like 30. I'll give you, all right, 31, 32. You start, the lights go off, bling, 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 and get somebody else. And that's how I look at it. They can get younger, cheaper, faster than Zadarius Smith, guys. So just change your mindset a little bit. I know that when they come to Detroit, you guys fall in love, but fall out of love when you start seeing the age in the 30. Just fall out of love and detach because their time is short. The next guy's up, hungrier, faster, bigger, stronger, with a 2 in front of his age, and his contract is not going to be as cumbersome. So that's football, because you're going to want to pay guys that are on your own team. You're going to have what's the number now? I think Aiden might make 40, 41, and Kirby Joseph's going to make probably 25 million a year. That's a lot of money. And then JMO is going to make 20 million a year. Those numbers are getting up there, and you got more guys coming. Jack, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs might end up making 35 million by the time the market gets set. By the time if one more running back blows up, Jahmyr Gibbs might be getting up there at the highest rate of all time, based on the way the NFL jumps up. I mean, Saquon's at 20. So these numbers are getting crazy, and the Lions got to allocate some funds to a lot of people. So you can't pay everybody. Zadarius was a nice story, did what he needed to do, just wasn't enough to get the Lions to overcome all those injuries.
Doc, you used the word cumbersome. Thought that was a great word. I don't know if I've ever heard that word. We'll be adding that to my vocabulary here very soon. But you talked about guys that they paid, that they didn't pay. Somebody that they did pay was DJ Reed. Obviously, the big signing for the Detroit Lions so far. Me and Caleb and Booner were all having the conversation before. When Brad brings in DJ Reed, do you think when they bring in DJ Reed, they're saying, okay, you are now the cornerback 1 in Detroit? Or do you think they're bringing him in kind of saying, hey, you were cornerback 2 in New York. You did a really good job, kind of the Robin to Sauce Gardner being the Batman. Do the same thing with Terrion Arnold, or is he coming in to be the cornerback 1 here?
Yeah, no, I think they come in open competition, and they got to see in training camp throughout the practices what it looks like. I don't think you come in slotting anybody. I think you come in and you say, all right, Amik, Terrion, and this Rakestraw, go out there, DJ, compete, and let's see where it falls. And I think, based on competition, if I think the way it shakes out the way it needs to, I think Terrion needs to be, you drafted him in the first round. He needs to be a guy that can step it up this second year and take the leap and cover the number 1s. He's a first round pick. You got to see what you got. Press man, I think that DJ Reed, it would be a great number 2 on the other side. And then you mix in Ennis Rakestraw and Amik Robertson. That's a nice foursome right there that can do some things. So I think it's going to be a great competition in training camp. You got great wideouts on the Lions to help see the competition. I can't wait to see DJ Reed against Amon-Ra. Can't wait to see DJ Reed against JMO. So it's going to be a fun time, but I think it's open. I don't think you go into it slotting guys in right away. You let them battle it out and see. And I think the way it should shake out, I think Terrion's a little bit better, quicker. Is going to be somebody that this year, based on what he needs to prove, I think he's got to show that he's the number 1 for the Lions. Otherwise, you drafted a first-round corner. I don't know if you want him to be a number 2 his second year in the league.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think if he's not at least trending in that way to be a number 1, you could argue it's. We'll get to that at a different time. But let me ask you this, Doc. All right, you mentioned the division. You mentioned how the Bears aren't the team right now to beat. But can we talk about the entire division? The division got better, Doc. And I was me and Caleb were talking about it earlier. How I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year everyone's about a game apart. I think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath to win this thing. I know the Lions have won it the last 2 years, but I think they should be favorited. But winning your division is a huge accomplishment. It's a blessing, and they're on track to go out and try and win 3 in a row. How much more difficult do you think it'll be this year going out and trying to battle with these teams? And we'll see what JJ looks like, but at least the Packers, the Bears, and if JJ's good, the Vikings.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath, right? It's going to be wild. Man. I think too, the blessing though is first and foremost, I think the Lions got the best quarterback. Jared Goff is going to shine. He's going to be somebody that I think is going to want to come back after a nasty, terrible game against the Commanders and want to recap and get that vibe back, because of the Jared Goff chants have kind of ended around town and people are kind of sprinkling in I got some more questions. I love this division. I think it's going to be the true black and blue division. And I can't wait, guys. I mean, if you talk about some guy with a lot of energy, I got to figure out what to do when the Lions got to face the Bears. Like, do I get to Chicago early and just sit up front and ask Ben, you're the mentee and Dan Campbell's the mentor. What's going to happen here? Why are you copying the Lions? What are you, like the Chicago Lions? What are you trying to establish? Something that is not your own? Like, what are you trying to do here with all this trenches improvement? What kind of junk talk are you talking about with your second-year quarterback? Or the best part would be, now that I'm thinking about it, I hope the Lions spank the Bears in honor of, the departed Isaac. And when the Lions spank the Bears 35-18 afterwards, just be like, did you feel outclassed by Dan Campbell? Did you feel like this was the moment was too big for you? Did you feel like Dan ran circles all over you with his offense? And I'm wondering, all those trick plays that got intercepted by Terry and Arnold, did you think that was a little bit too early to try those trick plays? Or, when DeAndre Swift ran into the, ran into the line there and, got crunched for a -4 loss? Or why are you running empty set on 3rd down and 1 against the Lions defense? And DJ Reader just destroys Caleb Williams. I can't wait to ask him some kind of question there that might just set him off or just say something to him. So I can't. The rivalry is going to be great. I can't wait to I think the Lions are going to definitely get up for the Bears, and they're going to play their 2 best games of the year against the Bears, because Dan Campbell's not going to be like, I'm not losing to him. I don't care who we lose to. We ain't losing to him. Like, we're going to run it up, and you're going to do like hook and laterals. You're going to have Jameson throw the ball 6 times. You're going to have Penei Sewell run into the end zone. You're going to have one, especially at Ford Field. That will be a must-see ticket. I can't wait to see that game. Look, man, that Vikings decision was shrewd, man. I'm biased. I don't like J.J. McCarthy. I just don't like it just on principle that he went to Michigan. But I like his game, in all honesty, in all seriousness. I like his game. I don't think he's ready. I don't think young quarterbacks are ready. The number that they gave, the Seahawks gave, that they gave Sam Darnold, I would have gave the Vikings should have did it, but they're maximizing the first-year quarterback thing. But I feel like if Sam Darnold did that year 1, it's kind of disrespectful to just let him go. There's no appreciation I think JJ sitting for another year is no big deal. You give Sam Darnold a little bit more money, 2 years and $80 million, or you make a lot of good guaranteed money, or all guaranteed. Let him run the offense. I think the offense will be fine. But JJ comes into a great situation. The Justin Jefferson, the Addisons of the world. It's going to be pressure filled for JJ McCarthy. And now he's had those couple, surgeries. I'm curious to see what he's going to do, because he's got that athleticism. He's got that grit mentality. If he acclimates quickly, that's going to be a problem for defenses, because he's got that, he has that it factor where he can, extend plays, make plays out of nothing. And then the Packers are always unique because they just have that kind of makeup where they're always hanging around. They're good, but they just have certain weaknesses at certain spots at the worst time. In terms of, they have talent, but they don't have the coaching, special teams, and the game management decisions at the right time to make the right play at the right time. So I'm excited to see the division. The Lions are not going to go 6-0. They're going to battle. It's going to be a fun-ass division to win again. But at this point, even with everything going on with the draft, you got to remember, too, the Lions offense, I think, is going to continue to roll. They had the 4th highest scoring offense in the history of the league. I think they're going to continue to score a lot of points. You're going to see a better J-Mo, a better Jahmyr Gibbs, a better Sam Laporta. Get out of here. That's going to be ferocious. You just got to round out that offensive line. Good luck stopping the Lions offense. The key is going to be just staying healthy in the postseason and making sure you're rolling on third down, touchdowns, red zone efficiency when you get to the postseason. But it's the Lions division to lose.
Doc, I'll just say this. It sounds like you might be scared of a Michigan man, which is fine. I get it. Now, serious question, though. We did talk to you. You came on a couple days ago, kind of informal, just, chatting with the boys. The Derek Barnes contract. Can I get, now that we're sitting down formally talking here, thoughts on that, the whole Derek Barnes thing? Did you like it? We got to see, after we actually talked to you, 10 plus probably linebackers ended up signing throughout free agency, and all those deals, I think they were all more than Derek Barnes, which pushed his deal down pretty far. So did you like that deal now that it's played out a little bit?
Sure. I liked it based on what he brings to the table. I think he's a good guy that can play all the positions at the linebacker spot, a leader, an emerging physical player, and he set the tone. And I talked to him at training camp. I've always been respectful with Derek Barnes, even though I had some fun at his expense on that mistake that he made. But I've always told him, I said, hey, I'm noticing that you're kind of the physical guy out there. You're not taking no junk from Dan Skipper. And I said, hey, are you kind of the emotional leader kind of emerging of this team? He's like, yeah, I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like I'm the guy that needs to take over this defense and become physical and become part of the leadership of the team. And I do think that he's got that grit mentality. He's got the tools. And here's the thing. And he's kind of an embodiment where, yeah, are there better linebackers? Yeah, Lucas knows it. We all know there are better athletes, faster linebackers. But again, the Lions are willing to sacrifice talent, speed, for the total package. And I think Derek Barnes is good enough in a lot of areas where they'll take a 7 across the board, as opposed to a guy that's like a 10 in speed, but like a 2 in tackling. You see what I'm saying? So there are more talented, more physical, stronger linebackers out there, but Derek's consistent in a lot of areas, coverage, getting better at, pressuring the quarterback, getting better at running, run stuffing, just getting a little bit better across the board. The biggest question for him is, how's he going to come back from that knee injury? I think it's going to, he's a good fit. And here's the thing. If you saw what Alex Anzalone can do, all that knowledge is being imparted to Jack Campbell and Derek Barnes. So you also, here's the thing too, you guys are learning with the league. Coaches have their guys. So Calvin Shepard is going to say, hey, I want Derek Barnes. Because the general manager is going to be like, all right, what do you think of Barnes, even with the injury? And Calvin's going to be like, that's my guy. And that means done, deal done. Calvin's worked with them. He knows that, hey, and that's why they love their own guys, because okay, I can say this to him. He's not going to get mad. He knows me. Whereas an outsider could come in, get all butthurt and pout and to make a stink and be a problem. Whereas they all know Calvin's been in that room. Sean Dion Hamilton will be now the guy. That's one of the guys, and Derek's part of the team. And Alex Anzalone is going to pitch in for him. And he made a play. Like, how do you not reward a guy that got you a playoff win, that helped you win a playoff game, and will sacrifice and is a warrior for you? So yeah, he's a 7 across the board, which is good. But yeah, could you have found a guy that's a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, a little bit better? You could have. But I think the total package with the contract that they got, it fits in perfectly. And now you just got to make sure he continues to develop his game and let him rush the passer. That's his natural fit. That's where he's good at. That's what he did with Purdue. Let him pressure a little bit more. Let him come on from the edge, from the outside. And he can be a guy that can be part of the solution to your edge rush situation at times from the outside. He's a good edge rusher. He can do the job from different positions and different defensive looks. So I like Derek Barnes on this team. And even though I had a little poke at, a mistake that he made, it only made him better. And, it was not a disrespect. It was out of, hey, you missed the play this time. You better hope that you're practicing to make it next time. And I think he's kind of one of those guys that will.
Yeah, Doc, we brought up the linebacking room. Obviously, I've had our fair share of Derek Barnes discussion over the last week or so. But you brought up Anzo, and I think it's very interesting because a lot of people bring up the Derek Barnes contract and how it lines up with Alex Anzalone. What do you expect out of Alex Anzalone? Because he is one of those guys, Doc, that you would look at his age and see a 3 there. At least I'm pretty sure he's coming up on 30 years old pretty soon here. Do you think that Alex Anzalone continues to get a little bit better this year? Because it seems like he has every year that he's been in Detroit, and he's not a linebacker where, look, at the beginning of his career in New Orleans, he still has some tread left on his tires compared to the other linebackers in the league that are his age. So what are your expectations for Anzo coming in 2025?
That's a great question. I think that Alex Anzalone is going to be one of those dudes that you saw got steadily better across the board through his time in Detroit. I think you get what you get out of him. You get a guy that's a strong leader in coverage that can do some things. I was very impressed with, when he came back from that injury. It was wild to see that, the way the team played and rallied around him. He's a true leader, and I'm very impressed with what he can bring to the table. And he's just a guy that I think has maximized his capabilities. He's a leader. He's going to definitely be the captain of the room. He's not going to get you a lot of sacks, but I do think that in the 10 games that he played, he had 5 passes defensed. He had a sack, 63 combination tackles, 43 solo. So I look at Alex Anzalone and you say he's a glue guy. He's a guy that you can count on to captain the ship and wear the green dot. And I'm hoping that the rehabilitation for Malcolm is also good. You have an opportunity there to kind of round out that room. But Jack, Derek Barnes, and Alex Anzalone, he's a great middle linebacker, and I love what he can do because he was a guy that got better through his tenure working with Calvin Shepard. I think that the confidence that Aaron Glenn instilled in him to be able to be that captain, and with Alex Anzalone and working with Calvin Shepard, what it did was just give him that confidence. I can make plays. I can be that competitor. I can be that guy that can really, recognize plays a little bit faster than people think. Now, he's not the fastest, but he has sneaky underrated speed for a linebacker, and he's tough and physical. So he's kind of like in that mold of, a Van Ginkel that if you watch other teams in that mold, he's that guy. He can do everything at that position. And I think that if my estimation's correct, there will be maybe a question asked that if you look up his contract, this might be it. So he hasn't gotten another year. So we'll see if the value that he thinks he has, he may want to get another 2 years on his contract and more money. Like, he may be thinking, as I'm sitting here talking to you guys, looking at his contract, might be underpaid. He might be looking at it like, hey, look at these guys, break me off something. And you might have that conversation after this year. So he's a good player. I love, listen, just a little inside. So since the incident happened, right, I see him all the time. And he always is like, he's a regular guy. He's a guy's guy. I'm a guy's guy. Like, I know how he is. But he's always like, got that look on his face like I see you. And I'm always like, hey, how you doing? And he's always smiling like, hey, how you doing? But we're kind of similar in that we would talk shit to each other. If we were outside of the workspace, we'd like hanging out because he's the same way. He's a good guy. He is somebody that I met away from the football field. I saw him at the mall. Really gracious. He's a good Christian guy, hard worker, guy's guy. But in the professional setting, I got to be serious. So I'm always looking at him serious, and he's looking at me serious. And it's almost like he wants to laugh at me because I'm a 5'3" overweight old man that's got a huge bald spot. And I know, like, you can almost, like, as a psychologist, you almost know what they're thinking. And he walks by, and I almost know he's thinking, they let that guy do the media? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, what is going on? They let that guy in here. and I'm sitting there going, yeah, in my head, yeah, they let me in here. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you why you guys. Oh, because guys, remember too, when right before the playoffs started, what dickhead asked him, "Hey, there's some talk out there that your defense isn't good enough." Who asked him that directly to his face? That was me. So he knows that I'm not gonna chamber anything, and he's like, "Well, that's BS." Well, it ended up being true. Well, you know. So, and if you look at it, go watch it again, because he looks at me, he answers it, and then he turns his head and rolls his eyes because his head is like, I can't believe this guy would ask me that in this setting. It's great. That's the job. That's what the job is. Every time you ask a question, they should be tested and directly asked something. So when he did that, I'm like, that's a good question, you know? And he's like, I mean, it puts him in a tough spot because he can't say it, but he can't say, well, we got challenges and all that. He can't really be honest, but you can give a real answer. So I love being in a locker room where they know, like, they don't know, am I going to ask the regular standard question for an article, or am I just going to hit them with, hey, you didn't make the play. What happened? There's people talking that you're not doing the thing you got to be doing.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested, or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.